So who is the speaker? I'm a serial entrepreneur, as George said. I've been doing this for a long time. I started my first company in 1992. Spent 20 years building software companies, totally irrelevant to what we do here. And then I woke up. And I woke up by discovering a business school, which seems like a weird thing to do because this is all about impact. But this business school was the first one in the world. It started in 2002. And it was the first business school to teach how to do good through business, how to take the powers of capitalism and apply them to now what we would call the SDGs and make a difference. And that makes all the difference. And so I was on another call earlier today. They asked me what my theory of change was. It's really simple. My theory of change is there isn't enough philanthropy or government spending to solve the actual problems. If we want to solve the SDGs, we have to bring in the private capital, the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that lives in the private sector, right? The for-profit capitalistic sector. We need that money applied to the world of good. And if we do that, we can actually solve the problems. So that inspired me, right? That work, hanging out at that business school, eventually teaching at that business school, that inspired me to do something. So what could I do in the world that was more than just build software companies? And the answer was Fledge. So Fledge is a global network of business accelerators. I help entrepreneurs. That's what I do now, and I have been for the last decade. But I don't just help entrepreneurs. What I actually do is help entrepreneurs, and I help people help entrepreneurs. So except for Seattle and Africa Eats, and I'll tell you what that is in a second, all these other logos are other organizations. So they all came to me saying, how do I teach entrepreneurs? How do I help entrepreneurs? How do I fill the missing middle, which is the title of this conversation today? And the answer is I teach that. So if first ask out there, if you are someone who wants to help entrepreneurs, I can help teach you how to do that if you don't know how. All right, going back to the bio slide here. Everything else I've done has come out of this work at Fledge. So we spun out a new structure, and I'll talk about that in the next hour. It's called Africa Eats. And I also accidentally started a nonprofit. So my whole background's in the for-profit side. I do help run a nonprofit. I used to run it myself. And it's a really strange nonprofit. What we do at Realize Impact is we take philanthropic dollars and we turn them back into investments, specifically impact investments. And one thing we do, which you'll see that logo pop up a few times in the next hour, we run the Terra Fund for World Resources Institute in the FR 100. We take philanthropic dollars, we turn them back into loans to African companies, filling in the missing middle. All right, so let's move forward. That's looking backwards. Africa Eats, I said, is a spin-off of Fledge. It's a for-profit solution for hunger and poverty. I'm going to repeat that a few times. We are out to solve hunger and poverty, not make a dent in, right? Not make a difference in, but to solve hunger and poverty in the continent of Africa. And we think the solution to that is to invest. And we know the solution to that is to invest, because if you look in the past, in the history of the North America or Europe, which were not too dissimilar from the African continent 200 years ago, most people being farmers, a lot of subsistence farmers, a lot of hunger, a lot of poverty, and you don't see that today. How did they get solved? How did those problems get solved? Yeah, it got solved by building out the infrastructure. It got solved with business. Same thing's going to happen in Africa.